Hello, and welcome back to A to B Two Sides podcast with your host Yoel Yanyuk, where we are bridging divine minds to shift us to a divine paradigm. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Word, because there was a Word. It all began with a Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God, which means that all of our creation is a vibration. In essence, we are vibratory beings made of energy and frequency, depending on the density of our state of consciousness, which is dependent on our environment, and our intentions are coming from our heart space. The intentions coming from our heart space, which either is cohesive to our thoughts or not. So you can let your mind lead you, or you can let your heart lead you. But basically, the Big Bang, a bang is a sound, right? So the Big Bang was an explosion of vibrations and sounds. And the universe is both expanding and contracting, collapsing simultaneously. There's a parallel reality beside us, or multiple parallel realities beside us, or above us, or however you want to look at it, outside of time and space, which is where the mind originates. So where we are now on this timeline, this tangential plane of existence, we are linearly experiencing our lives. And so this is going to bridge the previous podcasts that I've released. Number one, the intro, and number two, the foundation. It's the Trinity, right? Because the intro is, bit of an introduction to the contents. And then you have the foundation of the contents, and then you have the word, the essence of the thing, the vibration, which is kind of a part of the foundation too. The triune, Trinity. So if you think about it, with your brain, or do you think with your mind? I mean, the brain is a tool. The mind, sort of separate from the brain, I believe, simultaneously within the mind and outside of the mind, because we wouldn't be able to perceive anything without the mind being outside of time and space, because you can't perceive light from the perspective of light. I know it sounds pretty contradictory, but that's the universe we live in. It's full of paradoxes. So you have two hemispheres of the brain, which in my opinion is pretty unusual. I don't see why we don't just have, a whole brain. We have two halves, two halves of the body, two hemispheres. That's the dualistic nature, the dualistic paradigm we exist in at the moment. Some other people may not be experiencing it, although they are, but they're also not, because they're probably outside of time. So their awareness is in another location, but they can observe from a higher perspective this reality. So if you have the intellectual part of the brain, the masculine hemisphere, and then you have the feminine hemisphere, which is the intuitive part, or like abstract thinking, creative thinking, and then you have the pituitary gland, which I touched on before, is the Trinity, right? And if you think about the spine as a snake, and then the tip of it would be the first eye, and if you think about evolution in layers, then all the other parts of the brain evolved around that part. So if you can go back to the source, you can get a different perspective of things. So that allows you, or enables you, to have a higher concept of what existence is. And why I'm talking about the word, because of vibration and notes are tones written in stone. Every action or inaction creates some potential wave which protrudes through time and space, and that creates ripples through time. And just because we said something in the past and we think, oh, it's gone now, well, that past moment is happening right now. Every moment is happening right now. Everything we've ever experienced throughout all of our incarnations are simultaneously existing at this point in time, in the now moment. So is the future. Every potential timeline, every potential possibility, it all exists in this moment. So depending on what you do or don't do, it affects everything, and it'll affect your timeline and other people's timeline. But those other people are you, and we all coexist simultaneously whilst not existing simultaneously. So I observe my reality from my perspective in my time, and everybody else does the same thing. But we have the illusion of separation, and that only works because each person is actually experiencing reality from something. I don't have words for it, but basically every single person or every being actually experiences each other's experiences at some point in time. We all play different roles at the same time because we are one being. So that means that each person that you meet or see, that person is you living another life at a different time and place, and are perceiving and existing differently to you, even though your reality is perceived to be the same and you exist in the same time and place. But I don't think that's totally correct. I haven't experienced other people's lives, so I don't know what they're experiencing. I'm only experiencing my life and my perspective and my perceptions of my reality. So it's kind of hard to determine if other people are experiencing the same reality that you're experiencing. For example, I don't know, it's so hard when you try to bring up this example, but let's just say the virus thing that's been happening worldwide for some time now, and the war and all this stuff, like I'm experiencing that in my timeline from my perspective, and everyone else in my experience is doing the same thing, but those people might actually be experiencing another existence whilst I'm experiencing them in my experience. So it's like so hard to put this into words, but I'm trying. Hopefully someone gets what I'm saying. If not, that's okay. You just think about it, because yeah, I mean, you can interact with yourself in this reality in many different ways because you are everything. So you can do it through divination. You can do it through a conversation with someone. You can interact with plants and animals and all kinds of things. In my reality, if you try to interact with your ancestors in the form of molecules, they will put you in prison, you know, for interacting with a molecule that is your ancestor, you know, something that's a building block of reality. You interact with it. Oh, you're not allowed to do that. There's a law against that. Fair, I respect law and justice very much, because I believe that justice is important. Judgment from Almighty is important. Not that it always filters down correctly to the human world, but it has its place. So those molecules, our ancestors, are a vibration, and they can help us interact with themselves in a higher perspective. Like, for example, you have a passed over relative, and there's a molecule in fungi or another type of thing like plant medicine, because fungi is not a plant, so I can't really, the molecules in that allow you to have a higher awareness and perception of reality, which then allows you to connect with another ancestor, because everything's your ancestor, right? Like, we're all part of the same tree, just a different fractal of it. And we're looking back at ourselves, reflecting back, trying to figure out who we are and what we are, because, if you're an all-knowing God, you're going to get pretty either lonely or bored or something, so you've got to do something to keep yourself interested, like putting yourself in these, I don't want to say meat suit, it's pretty shitty term for something so incredibly amazing and beautiful, but you can have that perspective and just call it a meat suit if you want, or a vessel or a vehicle or anything. It's the human body, and we use this to traverse this realm, which is beautiful and cruel and perfect as it is, just as we are all imperfectly perfect and made in God's image. We have the ability, we just have so much unrealized potential that we need to tap into. And so the key to all of that is the vibration, right? It's what channel you're tuned into, like what is your resonance? What are you tuning into? What are you observing in your reality? What are you putting your focus on? What are you paying attention to? And that's why people have a religion, because they keep focused on something that's really dear to their heart and they want to stay connected to the divine. I don't have a religion. I'm not religious in that I follow somebody else's ideologies, but I have my own philosophies for life and my own practices and things that I do that is for the highest good of all beings in all places at all times. And I'm not perfect. I can't say that I always have perfect intentions for everything. I do my best and I'm truthful. I just want what's best for everyone, and I feel like that's what everyone wants, right? But maybe I've just been naive, ignorant to the fact that some people in a dog-eat-dog world are just they're gonna, do what they're gonna do. And I don't want to go down that path in a podcast or in this particular podcast, but, it's definitely a reality that you can experience. So I don't see why not in a future podcast. But right now I'm just trying to focus on God and the Word of God and what that implies. Like, if we're all created from God and we come from that one source, then we are God. Like, we're a part of God. We're not, it's hard to say we're not the God, but we are at the same time. It's another contradiction, another paradox of this reality is that we are God, experiencing God, experiencing itself in the illusion of separation. And I say that all the time. And honestly, it doesn't get old because it's probably the best way to describe it. So much has been hidden from, so much truth has been hidden and distorted, and all the misinformation out there. It's kind of easy to get lost in it all. And personally, I've tried to really disconnect from my reality lately because, well, not disconnect from my reality, but disconnect from things that aren't serving me, like social media, and just focusing on things that really make my soul sing, play my heartstrings, things that I love, and just focus on that and focus on my health and focus on what's important to me, and not just waste my time on social media being programmed by algorithms, because, you know, if you aren't washing your brain and deprogramming yourself, someone's going to do it for you. They're going to deprogram and program you however they want, however they see fit. And that's what the social media is based on originally. Like Facebook, if you go back through the history of it, it's connected to world simulation, it's connected to CIA, and it's connected to predictive programming, psychologically analyzing us by studying our behavior and then using that against us. But also, everything goes both ways. The platform is also useful for spreading messages, spreading the word. And that's communication, right? And that's what this world is. We're just communicating with ourselves in different ways. You can communicate in so many different ways in this world. Like, first thing that comes to mind, like if you can't see, if you're vision impaired, you can use Braille. You read with your fingers, or you can use sign language if you're hearing impaired, or, for music, art. Like, there's so many things that allow us to communicate with each other. Even just intimacy, or just being present with someone and just being there. Like, there's infinite ways to communicate, and that's why this universe, this reality is so beautiful, because we can communicate in so many different ways, and we always have been able to. And it's kind of sad. Like, I feel that this world, I feel sad personally, because I feel so connected to the ancient cultures, and I feel we've lost so much of our connection to the divine, and a lot of knowledge that we used to have. Like, I feel we were so much more advanced before, spiritually, architecturally. Like, we were so much more connected to the reality that we lived in. Now, with technological advancements, we're actually more disconnected, but at the same time, we are more connected, and can be more connected. And like, going back to something, Rupert Sheldrake, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, and he was talking about his experiments he did with the morphogenetic field, or the morphogenetic resonance, which is like, talking about I'm pretty sure it's the unified field that we're all a part of. Like, we're in a giant mind, like, it's our mind, and we're all a part of it. It's just one mind. So all the energy that is between us is actually a medium to communicate and connect. Although we can't see the energy, it's there. We just can't perceive it. So his work with something that I explained before about, that your dog waiting for, like, coming to the front door, or, they had experiments set up, like scientific experiments. They have like a video recorder, they record the dog's behavior, and then they have like controlled experiments where people will the story, like, the dog's waiting for you when you come home kind of thing. Like, if you're in the house and you observe the dog will go and wait, and you're like, oh, that person's going to be home soon. It happened to me all the time, living with dogs, and I've experienced that myself, and so many other people have. So the experiments I did was I had a live recording set up, or just a recording, like a video, a webcam or CCTV set up in the house, and the owner would be like, I don't know, 15, 20 kilometers away, whatever, how far over away they were. And for the experiment, they thought, oh, we better not use the owner's car, because, the dog could be hearing the car sound, like they know the sound of the engine and all that sort of stuff. So what they did was they just got a taxi, but it wasn't even the owner getting in the taxi and heading back to the house down the road or whatever. It was the intention of the person. It was the intention of them calling a taxi to get in it to go home. That's when the dog decided to go to the front door and wait. So it's about the intention, right? So when you have intention, that sets the universe in motion. It's about intention. Intent. You know, you're setting something up within yourself to create something or to do something. It's a desire. It's an intention. And it goes further than that. Like, you know, I first thought about that when I watched the movie Donnie Darko back in 2019 and realized in that movie that it was his intentions, and they visually showed you that it was his intention that was creating his reality, because he had the channel or the tunnel, the vortex that was coming out of his chest going in different directions. And that's like the timeline that he would go along was the intention of his heart. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful message really, because where I was going with all that is that technology is evolving alongside of us, right? We are evolving spiritually, and we're evolving physically, but we're also evolving technologically. And the technology is mimicking our spiritual evolution. So Rupert Sheldrake also did experiments on this, that, you know, when just before someone calls you, you can know who it is. You have a feeling, like, you know what I mean? Or you might get a phone call from an unidentified number, but you know who's on the other end before you even pick up the phone. That's a morphogenetic field, morphogenetic resonance. It's like unified field theory. We're in a quantum realm. We exist outside the quantum realm, but we perceive within the quantum realm, within time and space. So our mind is already setting up all of these things, these timelines and these events for us to experience outside of time. This is happening, and then it's manifesting in time. So our mind originates outside of time, then manifests in time. And I had a dream about it the other night too. It's pretty interesting. I could see like all the different like events simultaneously happening throughout multiple timelines, and it was just, you know, mind bending to even try to explain, let alone, you know, comprehend it enough to. Well, I can comprehend it. I've understood this for a fair while, but it's about even illustrating it. I could probably illustrate it, but I would need someone to help me with that. And you know, there's series like Marvel that do it. But anyway, I digress. So it's quantum theory, the quantum mind that we exist in, that we're all a part of. We're all one. It's telepathy, right? People disregard telepathic connection, but it's real. It's just that, like, we experience it. Even people that experience it would say, oh no, telepathy is not real, but they don't know what telepathy is. It's just their perception of what it is, their understanding that has been conditioned into them to believe what it is, but it is what they think it is, but it's not at the same time. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm reading your thoughts kind of thing. It's like, I have a feeling, because we get it as a feeling. It's an intuition. It's not words. It's a feeling. It's an emotion. It's an energy in motion. It's an intent from somebody else. Just like Rupert Sheldrake, he during his experiments on this field, he said that, you know, the SAS, or, you know, special service, or even he had an example of security guards, and they would like watch someone on a monitor doing something they shouldn't be doing, and they were told, like in training, just stare at them really hard, and they will not do what they were planning on doing. They know they're being watched. You know what I mean? They can feel it. And then what comes to my mind now is like in Resident Evil, when Alice like looks at the camera and like makes the guy's eyes bleed because she knows she's being watched. Yeah, you know, sometimes you get that feeling that you're being watched. That's a pretty lame joke, but you know, if what the SAS said. They said that if you're walking behind someone and you're gonna stab them in the back, don't stare at their back because the person's gonna turn around. You know what I mean? So, and like sometimes you're down the street and you look over at someone, but you look at each other at the same time, or you look at someone and they're already looking at you, and you're like, "Well, I knew that someone was looking at me." So yeah, that is the field. It's frequency. It's all created by a word. It's like if you're in the ocean, you can see waves coming. If you're in the pool or with other people, when you make a splash or like a wave, you can anticipate it. You know it's coming because you can see it or you can hear it. Well, there's other fields of energy that we can be aware of from a higher sense of perception. ESP, extrasensory perception. It's from a higher state of consciousness, which you can achieve through meditation, breath work, these kinds of things. Yeah, I guess that is the bridge, really, like the Trinity that I'm trying to explain. It's this dualistic world, which is the hemispheres of the brain and the pituitary gland that is bridging the quantum to time and space. It's the bridge. It's 5, 4, and 3D. 3, 4, 5. And I've been seeing 9, 3 everywhere. And I mean, 5 and 4 is 9 and then 3. So 9, 3. And I said that it's 27 minutes, 15 seconds roughly. It's 9, 6. Now it's 27 minutes, 30 seconds. It's 9, 3. So that's very interesting. Yeah, it just reminds me of a movie I watched last night, Free Guy. Pretty cool. Pretty cool movie. It's got a lot of stuff in there. It kind of reminds me of another movie. I don't remember the name, but I haven't seen it, but I've seen the memes where they have like the glasses and they like lift it up. And it's like, with the glasses down, it's just like normal, I think. And then you lift it up and it's like, buy, consume, sell, this kind of thing. And in Free Guy, the place is called Free City. Yeah. I don't know. The whole of reality is like pretty ironic. Anyways, before I get too pessimistic, because yeah, I mean, it's even in the movie Free Guy, they make a point which I've said for such a long time is it doesn't matter like where you are, if you're in a simulation or you're doing this or you're doing that. It's all experience, right? Everything's an experience. You're experiencing it, so you better make it count. Well, I'm going to say you better make it count, but you may as well like enjoy it, right? There's no point in living in suffering when you don't have to, when you can just find a lighter perspective of things and be optimistic, and I think, bridging God into this and that's faith for me. Like I've always had so much faith in the divine. Yeah, like I know everything happens for a reason, and it's my path, it's my place, it's my time. Like always, it's divine timing all the time. Because I'm part of something greater than myself. I'm not alone, even though I feel it. Sometimes not being able to reach, excuse me, reach the people that I want in my life to be able to understand and be invested in the same interests as me and talk about the same things or play music together or, sure that, people come along your path, but it's like, seems so temporary sometimes. And I know that it's all lessons and, some people are in your life for a season and Some people it's fairly brief, and then other people it's for a lifetime or multiple lifetimes. And that's just where you have to have faith that everything's going to be okay. And knowing that something as amazing as this reality was created by the word of God, that gives me an epic amount of faith that everything's okay, and that everything will work out as it's intended to. And that's about it for today. So much love. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.